Speak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate you recognizing me. I think all the things that I would have otherwise addressed have been addressed, with the exception of I really want to take the opportunity, as we've heard the contributions from our community, and frankly, let's just go ahead and keep it real. Our community includes good developers. That's a thing. It's a real thing. So as we take into consideration these discussions that have happened between communities and developers and people trying to reach agreements that by way of, so by the way, for example, Mr. Mayor, I think a lot of our constituents don't know that we don't have any influence over the restrictive covenants. Like, that's not a thing that we have any influence over. And, or saying something along the lines of, we really appreciate the contribution of neighborhood associations, contact teams, et cetera, but us as a city, we frankly don't have any rules in place that dictates how neighborhood associations and contact teams work. So for what it's worth, I'm fortunate. You guys have seen my garden. I talk to all my neighbors. So I recruited 19 new Davis Thompson Neighborhood Association members by way of just standing outside and talking to my neighbors. But they didn't even know we had a neighborhood association. So having neighborhood associations and neighborhood contact teams and groups, while I can appreciate that we should defer to those plans, the truth of the matter is, who's speaking for whom? If you got 12 people talking for 13,000 people, that ain't right. And that is not equity. And so while I can appreciate that some of the people that came forward today to speak candidly about who's who and what's what, I want them to recognize, y'all, you 7 people in a neighborhood of 74,000 people. How can you possibly be the singular voice? That is an unfortunate assumption on your part, but guess what? The beauty of it is we can fix that. Let's go back and fix how we do neighborhood involvement. If all your neighbors don't know that you have a neighborhood association, then you're not doing this right. And when you speak on their behalf at city council, there are some names I can name. When you come to the chambers and stand at that podium and say, I'm speaking on behalf of, if most of the people you're speaking on behalf of don't know you're doing so, let's just call it disingenuous at best. And I'm offering you some grace when I do that. So, Mr. Mayor, what I wanted to say was, as we're having these conversations, most especially about these zoning cases, I want us to, as a body, can we eventually have a discussion about neighborhood associations and contact teams and we expect so much from our staffers and our crews for their level of expertise, et cetera, but we let lay people weigh in on zoning cases? I appreciate that neighborhoods should always have the opportunity to weigh in. However, if we have specific and explicit requirements, like even the fact that neighborhood associations don't have to meet requirements about how they recruit their leadership, we as a city don't have any requirements for them to check in and say, hey, we selected by way of our bylaws. We don't have any. So when we do this thing that we're doing right now, and we say, yes, approach the podium. Yes, tell us how you feel about the thing. When people do the thing from what they are basically calling a perspective that is professional, neighborhood contact team, all right, well then you have to follow the same guidelines as anybody else. You have to have this level of consideration for your expertise, this level of consideration by way of, and this level of consideration. Because when we do it sloppy, willy-nilly, which is, frankly, Mr. Mayor, with all due respect, we do it sloppy willy-nilly. We just let anybody who wants to weigh in. In fact, we let people, obstructionists, come from other neighborhoods into other neighborhoods and introduce things. And the fact that we have to combat that, I'll leave it with this, Mr. Mayor. I think we should have a comprehensive conversation as a body about neighborhood contact teams, neighborhood associations, and all the things. That means they get to weigh in on what spurts do. Spurts. I want to put emphasis on the fact that these people got like 8, 9, 10, 12 years worth of expertise. We allow lay people to dictate what they do. That's so my hope is that moving forward, that we as a body, a group of pragmatic individuals, recognize that there should be a system for allowing for community input, because some of it, frankly, if you look at the zoning case that went extraordinarily well and the one that didn't, and then like what the neighbors asked for, some of it is wild, Mr. Mayor. I mean, down to construction materials, being able to dictate what organizations are allowed to implant by way of. Some of this stuff is not for us to determine. And so I look forward to us having a more comprehensive system for having these discussions that doesn't involve taking this much council time. Because in my mind's eye, this is not us to decide on. I think there's a separate body that does all that work, and then they bring us the vote. Thank you for my time.
Thank you. Councilmember Condrey.
Thank you, Mayor.